Okay, well, it's the top of the hour at my end, and I want to be respectful of your time. So, thanks to everybody who's joining me today. I don't know about you, but I'm beginning to feel like a popsicle. I've lived in air conditioning. We live about an hour west of Toronto, and I think I've had the air conditioning on almost continuously for a month and a half. So, it feels like a meat locker in my house every time I go outside and come back inside. I want to spend some time with you today talking about something that's a really emerging trend in the financial services industry. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say welcome to the people that I know that are here with me. And also, I had such a great reach out from the people that were on my Courageous Conversations webinar that I did back in April. And I just have really enjoyed the interaction. Thank you to those of you who have started to coach with me as a result of it. I love coaching financial advisors, and I always love when I have people that are invested in their own personal and professional development. So welcome to my new coaching clients. And thanks to those of you who took me up on my offer in regards to my book and binder, which I'll be extending again at the end of the webinar today. So just a couple of things, because there's so many of you on here with me. Can we make sure that you're all muted at your end, so that I don't overhear any conversations I might not need to hear? And I've got the chat box up for you to post any questions in, and if we've got time, I'll take a few of them or try to address all of them by the end of our time together. I'm going to be a main platform speaker at the Women in Insurance and Financial Services Conference this October in Austin, Texas. So for those of you who have not signed up already and are thinking of going, would love to have you join me and all of the other fabulous lineup of speakers, because I'm going to be talking more about the conversation that we're going to be having today, the whole conversation around the changing face of wealth. So let's get right into it, because I know everybody's here and wants to get rocking and rolling. So I think we would all have to be living under a rock today if we didn't know. Wait a minute, I just got to get these slides to move forward for me. There we go. I think we'd all have to be living under a rock today not to know that the two hottest topics and trends in the financial services industry today are the whole issue around women and wealth, and the correlation between mental health and financial well-being. That's actually the next webinar I'll be doing in the fall. But today I want to focus on women and wealth, because over the decade from 2016 to 2026, it's projected that here in Canada, women are set to inherit financial assets of approximately up to $900 billion. And that's going to be broken down into $710 billion are going to be in hard assets, and the rest, another 190 billion, one's going to be in the wealth of 710, and the other 190 will be in hard assets, for a total of 900 billion in personal wealth. And in the US, women today currently control about 51% of the wealth, to the tune of about 14 trillion. And it is projected to reach 66%, roughly the 22 trillion you see here on the screen today, by the year 2026. So this represents a huge opportunity for financial advisors. So what I want to share with you in our time together today is some information for you to take away and think about incorporating the conversations that you're having with women. I've got some interesting stats to share with you, some interesting facts, but I really do believe that if you're working in this market, this is a good check to make sure that you're working to the best of your ability. And if you've not penetrated this market yet, why you should be doing exactly that. So let's look at some interesting things when it comes to women and wealth. So you saw what the transfer of wealth is on the previous slide. And so that means that in North America, women are going to be managing a significant amount of cash flow and wealth moving forward. And it's interesting because it's predicted that at some point in their lifetime, 90% of women will be required to play the role of a sole financial decision maker in their own households. So it's no surprise that the research out there suggests that women really place a greater deal of importance on financial affairs than men do. And even though women appear more concerned about financial matters than men do, a study by a US trust found that only 62% of women that were identified as high net worth felt financially secure. And that was compared to 76% of high net worth men. Women, they feel less pressured and not as well educated about investments and other financial issues as men, the study revealed. But there's some good news here. In general, women are more likely to seek the counsel of someone such as yourself, a financial advisor, more so than men. However, there is also evidence that less than 50% of women are confident in the quality of advice likely to be received from an advisor, and that advice from their family members runs a really close second as a source of reliable advice. You know, when I'm out speaking, I speak across North America to large groups of advisors in the financial services industry. And one of the things that, and as I started to mention, I speak to great groups of advisors all over North America. And one of the things that I always stress, and I want to stress that here today, is if you don't know the other members of your client's family already, I'd highly recommend that you get to know them. Because the thing is that the next generation, their children and or their aging parents, will be chirping in their ears about money, especially if you're out there delivering death claims or claims checks for critical illness, disability, and all of that. So if you haven't already been introduced to the other family members, I'd highly recommend that you get to know them. And 70% of women change their spouse's advisor within 1 year of the death of a spouse or a partner, strictly because there was no prior relationship. So that's why I stress getting to know the rest of the family. And the thing is that once the reputation or the relationship, once the reputation has been solidified and your relationship has been built, women are usually very loyal to their financial advisors. But however, despite the evidence that supports the notion that women represent a distinct investor segment, unfortunately, almost 2/3 of financial advisors, and unfortunately 85% of you guys are men, do not believe that a female client should be viewed in any different light than a male client. So now that we know about the immense wealth that will be coming into women's hands, let's talk about where they currently spend their money and how they'll be spending more of it in the future. At home, the majority of the women act as the chief purchasing officer, and they influence or manage 85% of all consumer purchases. And that's not just diapers and detergent. Women buy more cars, insurance, and consumer electronics than men as well. And women make the decision in the purchases of what you may not see up here on the screen is 94% of home furnishings, 92% of the vacations that they go on, 91% of homes, 60% of all automobiles that are purchased, and 51% of consumer electronics. That extraordinary amounts of money are also up for grabs in the financial services business. The most lucrative opportunities for companies, and a lot of you already know this, arise at transition points, things like marriage, divorce, childbirth, and job changes, because women are most likely to make investment decisions around these types of events. However, there was an interesting survey that was done by Harvard Business Review that found that women today feel vastly underserved. Despite the remarkable strides in market power and their social position that they've made in the past century, they still appear to be undervalued in the marketplace and underestimated in the workplace. Any company today would be wise to target female customers, and many are, but the greatest potential has been identified in 6 industries. So if you see the screen, great. If not, what's up here are those 6 industries: food, fitness, beauty, and apparel. Those are 4 businesses where women are most likely to spend more or to trade up. The other 2 on the screen are the businesses with which women have made their dissatisfaction very clear. One was healthcare, and the other was the financial services industry. And so the dissatisfaction, when the financial services industry unfortunately wins the prize, is the industry that's deemed to be least sympathetic to women, and one in which companies stand to gain the most if they can just change their approach. Unfortunately, the survey respondents in this study that Harvard did were scathing in their comments about financial institutions. They cited a lack of respect, poor advice, contradictory policies, one-size-fits-all kind of forms, and a seemingly endless tangle of red tape that leaves them both exhausted and annoyed. So if you're hearing properly here, they want it simplified. And there were 2 quotes from the survey that really jumped out at me that I wanted to share with you today. One was, "I hate being stereotyped because of my gender and age, and I don't appreciate being treated like an infant." The other one that was big in the survey was that financial service reps talk down to women as if they cannot understand more than just the basics. Women today feel they have too many demands on their time and constantly juggle conflicting priorities. Work, home, family, they're trying to do it all. You've all heard about the whole work-life balance thing. But it's interesting because many in the survey felt that few companies have really responded to their need, which is for time-saving solutions or for products and services that are designed strictly for them. So how do we change this perception? Because you can always change perception. So how do we change the way we work with women to make them feel that they're not underserved, they're not undervalued in the marketplace, and they're not underestimated in the workplace? How we do this is by understanding some of the things that are important to women at different ages and stages in their life. So let's start with widows and divorcees. The average age of a widow in North America is 56 years old. However, death doesn't discriminate when it comes to age. I've met widows that are in their 20s. I've met widows that are in their 90s. But these 2 groups face many similar challenges in terms of both the emotions that they have to deal with and the fact, I go back to the other slide, that 90% of them are predicted to be the sole financial decision maker at some point in their life. For those of you who don't know a lot about me, I was widowed back in 1999 when my 39-year-old husband was killed in a tragic accident. In less than 60 seconds, I became a widow with a 12-and-a-half-year-old and an absolute financial tsunami coming my way. So I've already been part of this 90%. And being alone and having to make all of the decisions, and going through the grieving process, man, it wasn't easy. So it was really important for me to lean on my financial advisor. And women who find themselves in one of these groups, either as a widow or as a divorcee, they're usually more open to developing their own financial knowledge and engaging with the right professional advisors to develop a plan for themselves that's focused, and this is important, it's focused on assured outcomes, not performance. And they want a plan that reflects their own personal values. However, one thing to keep in mind is most women will seek security over prosperity. Therefore, to assist women in these two growing segments, being divorced or widowed, and to guard against the tendency amongst 70% of women to change advisors following a critical life event, you and your practices may be required to adopt new approaches and to develop some new expertise for working with this influential sector of the wealth market. And when you strengthen your understanding of the needs, the expectations, and the financial goals in these segments, advisors of both genders, be it male or female, can provide essential support to women in challenging circumstances while at the same time building your practice. As I just mentioned, I turned to my financial advisor, who became my absolute utter lifeline. I was incapable of picking a vegetable for dinner after my husband died because the shock of being served with the news that he had been killed just sent me completely into a tailspin. Everything I did, everywhere I went, I was trying to close down accounts. I was trying to pay off outstanding balances, whatever. I was incapable of stringing words together on a check. I had to write a check out for $5,000, and I was incapable of doing it. My advisor had to fill out the check and get me to sign it. So your help and your support is critically important when you're dealing with women who have lost their significant other, or also in the case of divorce, because there's a grief process that goes with both of those major life events. And here are some frequently asked questions from women who become divorced. And actually, it was the same question that I asked my advisor, was my first question to him. Am I going to be okay? That was the first question, that I wanted my advisor to tell me that everything was going to be okay. I knew what went on in our house financially, but I've never been so terrified in my entire life. And I wanted him to answer one question for me. Will my daughter and I be all right? The other one is, and it's interesting, is this going to be enough? You know, I've found in my 25 plus years of experience in the financial services industry as an advisor, a manager, and as an executive, and working with advisors, that I've never come across or heard a story about a client who was offered a critical illness, disability, or long-term care check, or one that was offered the death claim check, go, no, I'm good, I'm okay, you keep the money. What people usually say, and I said it myself, was I wish there had been more zeros on the check. So the other one is, do I need to work more? So this is another question that divorced women often ask. Do I need to work more? Am I going to have to work longer years than I had originally thought I would? So whether a woman becomes single through death or divorce, many women are and will be faced with the need to rethink their financial priorities and to develop plans and strategies that will provide financial security for both themselves and for their dependents. So the other thing too, is helping elderly women or elder women avoid a decline in their living standards is, for you as an advisor, it's both a responsibility, but it's also a big opportunity. You know, in the coaching work that I do with advisors, we have some very interesting questions that often get asked. And one of them is, I often get asked, especially I guess being a woman myself, is what's the best way to approach women? And the other one, a big one, is how you approach women over 50. And the question I often hear is, what are they looking for in an advisor? So let's talk about some of the things that are important to this very influential demographic at this age and life stage when they're looking to work with you. And, you know, by the way, I'm one of those clients, so this is some of my personal perspective in here as well. So one of the first things is, women don't need to be serviced by financial advisors in a special way. So be careful at coming at women, especially in this demographic, from a sort of a girly approach. We want to develop authentic relationships and are looking to work with advisors who treat us as individuals with unique needs. Not only do we have different wants and needs, we have different levels of financial knowledge, expertise, and in some cases, comfort. Therefore, one size in this demographic definitely does not fit all. For women over the age of 50, it's important that they get the reassurance from you that they're not going to run out of money or be a burden on their families. That's critically important to them. You know, some of you may have heard the term bag lady. Well, the term bag lady is very prevalent in the 50 plus age group. I don't know if you ever heard this, but Oprah, who's worth gazillions, has a substantial amount of money stashed away for her bag lady years in case, God forbid, she was to need them. So even those that are deemed to be quite wealthy and well off still worry about things like this. And, you know, we really need to get more female advisors into this industry. And for the women that are joining me here on the call today, you play an important role in helping to bring other women into the business. We are the role models. We should be the role models, the mentors, and we should be all talking to other individuals, male or female, about what a great opportunity this is in the financial services industry, because we need more advisors. We know that the average age of advisors are 58 years old. I've got a lot of clients that I'm coaching, and they're going through succession planning issues, and they're going, I can't find a younger advisor who wants to come into my business and take it over. What am I going to do? So we really, really need to get more women into the business. And, you know, it's not that women only want to work with other women advisors, but sometimes finding one isn't easy. So if we get out there and we share our stories and we talk about how wonderful the opportunity is in here, let's really start to be an advocate for our own industry and entice and invite other women and other men to come into this industry so that we can build the population of people that are ready, able and capable, and have the knowledge to help Canadians and people in the US to get their financial affairs in order. Number three, the third thing that really resonates with women over 50 is fees matter to women. They matter a lot. Women want to know how you get paid, and often they want to know how much you charge. And it's not because they're shopping on price. I want to distinguish that. It's not because they're shopping on price. It's because it's important to us. However, some women find it a little bit difficult or hard to ask about fees, since talking about money is still taboo. It still breaks my heart today how many women I come across in all life ages and stages who know nothing about the household finance, who can't write a check, who don't have a checkbook in their checking account in their own name, or don't have a credit card in their own name. So you play a very important part in this demographic. And the fourth thing that they're looking for is they want to work with someone they feel they can trust. They want someone who they can talk openly to about their lives. And many women feel that women and men have different life journeys. Now, with those life journeys often comes different financial consequences. We all know that many women are pursuing careers while juggling family responsibilities, such as caring for their children, their parents, or their spouses. You know, more and more today with the aging population, but the longevity that's happening out there, how often are you seeing the parents moving back in with the kids because they've either run out of money or they're not able health-wise to take care of themselves? And quite often women will pick up this additional care responsibility. And it's important for women to feel they want to feel a sense of connection, as well as to feel comfortable asking questions. Nobody wants to feel that they don't know what questions to ask, or that they're asking silly questions. I always say these silly questions are the ones you just don't ask. And I have had many women tell me they want someone they can relate to, and some have even told me they preferred asking friends over financial advisors for advice in some instances. So it still goes back to that family thing. They also want to be certain that as an advisor, you're going to put their interests first, not your own. So remember this when you're meeting with someone for the first time. You are interviewing for a job. You, as the financial advisor, are interviewing for a job to be part of our wealth team. It's not the other way around. And what do I mean by wealth team? I think that there's 3 critical professionals that should be on any individual's wealth team. And I think you can see I've got like a triangle with my hands. At the top is the financial advisor who puts the financial plan in place. On this side of the triangle is the lawyer who puts all of the legal pieces in place to make sure that what the financial advisor is putting in place will go where it's supposed to go. And the other member of the wealth team is your accountant. Those are 3 critical players that everybody should have on their wealth team. And number 5, women really look for a holistic approach. It's critical for women to find an advisor who isn't only focused on the family's assets, but also understands their family, their caregiving demands, and their career, what kind of money goals they have, and they might be different from their married partner's money goals. And they also want you to know about their risk tolerance. Women want holistic planning, as do many men, but for women, they want to work with an advisor who can provide full financial planning services, not just investment planning and not just retirement planning. We want you to wrap your arms around us and love us. You know, the one thing that I love about my advisor is that he knows where everything is. So when I'm dealing with him, I'm confident that he's got his finger on the pulse and he knows what's going on, and he knows my lawyer and he knows my accountant. So I feel confident in the advice that I'm being given from all 3 of them. And you know, many women see money as the means to the end, not the end in and of itself. Generally, financial performance matters, but women see money first and foremost for what it can do for their families and is a key to greater career flexibility. And the last one in, working with the same advisor with your partner is fine, but the big but means that if a woman and her partner share the same advisor, she wants to be sure that both of their needs are met. Over the years, I've seen many advisors go in and meet with a couple, and unfortunately, I've watched them totally ignore the woman sitting at the table, and they've spoken only to the man sitting at the table. Go back to what I talked about earlier, about the chief purchasing officer in a household. Do not underestimate the power that women have when you walk out of the room and you leave in terms of what the decisions are that are going to be made in that household. So make sure you're taking care of both needs. You know, she may well want you to meet, she may well want to meet with you separately as well as a couple. So it's important for you to ask the right, questions. So don't assume anything. We all know what happens when we assume. So make sure that you're asking the right questions and you're making sure that everybody's needs in the couple are being met. Because, sometimes couples have different retirement goals and they have different spending habits, especially if there is an age gap. And we're seeing that more and more. In some cases, there's huge age gaps between the 2 spouses because somebody may have remarried, all of those type of things. So you guys can really help with the communication around these issues. So you can get everyone on the same page. And let's make sure that you check in with each of the clients because they might have different investment strategies as well and different retirement goals back to that age gap. So make sure that you're talking to both of them and you're making sure that all of their needs are addressed. Just need to take a quick sip here. So as a group, women are earning more and they're controlling a larger proportion of discretionary spends and household investment decisions than ever before. Yet, as I mentioned earlier, many women still feel vastly underserved. Despite the remarkable strides in both market power and social position that they've made in the past century, they still appear in their world to be undervalued in the marketplace and underestimated in the workplace. So, what's the secret sauce? To begin with, I'm going to give you 5 traits that women investors seek from you, their financial advisors. The first one is transparency. Women greatly value transparency. It is a natural precursor to trust building for women. The second one is reliability. When you're advising women clients, you would benefit from cultivating a sense of reliability and solidity. Oh dear, Jane. The other one that's very important in the traits that women seek from you is empathy and sensitivity. Women investors are a lot more comfortable with advisors who adequately address and acknowledge the human side of personal finance instead of just running away from it. You know, in my Courageous Conversations talk that I do that some of you may have heard, I talk about the fact that when you go to visit a widow, resist the urge to pull a briefcase into the room with you or stick it on a table and reach in and pull out that file folder still full of stuff that your assistant may have prepared, and there's all these little sticky notes on it that says sign here, sign here, sign here. Resist the urge to pull it out. Start the conversation with a widow and with somebody who's divorced, because again, I said there's a grieving process in both, and simply ask this question: how are you doing today? Don't ask the word, how are you doing? Ask the word, how are you doing today? And then be quiet. Because the answer will tell you where to go next. Because I can guarantee you that if we're not having a good day, and I was on a roller coaster, I was up one day, down the next, it was horrible. But if you don't ask that question and you try to go down the road where they have to be logical, reasonable, think clearly, and whatever, you're done. Now, you may have driven halfway across town to get there, but if they tell you that it's not a good day for them, please, please, please say, you know what? Why don't we rearrange this appointment? It will go a long way when it comes to this whole empathy and sensitivity piece that women investors seek. The other one is financial education. Women investors are on the lookout for advisors who will offer them jargon-free advice and will patiently educate them on the nuances of investing and provide solutions thereafter, instead of bulldozing ahead and pushing whatever products on their checklist that day. You know, I do a lot of work with LIMRA, and I delivered one of their top-rated trustworthy selling programs. And in it, they did research on the 4 pillars of trust and that are important to consumers. And the 4 pillars are benevolence, integrity, dependability, and competency. The number one thing important to consumers is benevolence. And that fits in with the empathy, the sensitivity, and the being transparent and being reliable and all of that. People, especially women, want to know that you have put their interests first and that you're not looking across the table at them as your next bag of groceries or your next mortgage payment. You've got to be outwardly focused. And the last one is women really do want to get into goal-based planning. Very few women I've come across invest just to multiply money aimlessly. For most of the money is a means to something more. And if there is no specific goal, then financial independence itself becomes a goal. So let's talk. Women like to see the big picture and to align their investments to their financial goals. So once their confidence, both in themselves and you, their financial advisor, is built, they're open to all kinds of investments. So simply being a mere distributor of financial products is unlikely to impress women investors too much. Instead, you need the advisors of the future that are going to kick butt out there are the ones who've honed their skills and have become a 360-degree financial planner who has the ability to identify and to plan for life goals, manage and mitigate personal risks, and help their clients to plan for the whole of their lives. That's back to wrapping your arms around them, and especially women, and taking care of their needs. Remember what I shared earlier. Women already feel there are too many demands on their time and that they're constantly juggling priorities, be they work, home, and family. Therefore, anything you guys can do to help make their life easier, the more they will come to value you, the advice, and the expertise that you bring to the table. So here's what you can't see on the slide. Women investors are seeking your assistance and help managing their household finances quickly and easily. Don't start pulling out Excel spreadsheets and all this kind of thing. If you did that with me, my eyes would glaze over and I'd be gone. Yeah, you'd have lost me. They want help with budgeting, things like budgeting, saving, financial planning, education. And again, it comes, and this is sort of, touching upon some of the things I've already touched upon. They're seeking financial advice that are geared to specific goals or to their life stages. And again, I said, you've got to be clear, honest, and open with them, and it has to be relevant communication. And they are focused on long-term investment performance. So I'm just going to stop for a minute here. I think we might have a couple of minutes at the end. So if there are a couple of questions that anybody would like me to address, please just type them into the chat box here, and I'll try to pick up a couple of them before we get off at the end today. So I wanted to just take a minute here because I mentioned at the top of the hour that I was going to give you a special promo code because I had such an uptake from people after the last webinar who wanted to buy the book that I've put out and another planning tool that goes with it. So I'm just going to share for a minute with you. So in our household, we have two widows. I'm remarried to a wonderful man who was married to my girlfriend whom we lost to cancer. And so under one roof, we have two widows and a child that lost her father at 12 and a half. So we decided to pay it forward and have openly and honestly shared our stories to help one family never to have to go through what we went through. But I didn't want to just share the story. So at the back of the book, there's a 33-page master checklist that was built out of 2 years of research and on my part with discussions with financial advisors, lawyers, accountants, funeral pre-arrangement specialists. And at the back of the book, there's a whole way to start what I call the courageous conversations. I'm a catalyst for courageous conversations. I help you as advisors to help you to get your clients to have these courageous conversations with their family. So a courageous conversation starts with oneself first. You have to have a conversation with yourself first, because then you need to sit down with your family. My husband was 39. He flew jets and rode fast motorcycles. He thought he was immortal. I could never get him to talk to me about his final wishes. So when he died, it was like he blindfolded me and handcuffed me and told me to plan a funeral. So I second-guessed every decision I made. So I've equipped people also with questions to when they sit down with the people such as yourself, lawyers, accountants, and when they're planning funerals. Did you know, I found out the hard way, that on average, there are 96 decisions one has to make when planning a funeral. 96. So I've equipped people with these questions at the end of the book. So my readers came back and said, Jane, I love the book. I love the checklist, but you keep telling me to get all this stuff put together and whatever, and I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. Please, please, please help. So what I've done is I've created the most comprehensive planning binder on the market today, Canadian and US version, and advisors are sharing these with their clients as a value add for holistic planning. Some are white labeling it under their own marketing strategy and whatever. So I've got a special promo code for just the people that are on the webinar today. If you're interested in ordering the book and or the planning binder, please head on over to Jane Blaufus, BLAUFUS.com, and put in promo code WebEx, capital W, small e, small b, capital X, and you will receive a discount, and I will promise you I will sign any books that you order. If for any reason, I have advisors who buy the books by the case and give it out to their clients. If for any reason you'd like to talk on a better pricing on that, please just reach out to us directly and we'll have a one-off conversation on that. So thanks very much for that. So let me just take a little peek up here and see. So one of the questions, so I specifically would like to market myself to women, and there are lots of reasons to do this, but for me, it's because I feel they are so underdeserved. Good point, Monica, because that's what I've just been talking about. But I guess what I struggle with is how to bring women in the door. How do I get their attention? Great question. So one of the things, I'll go back to what I mentioned, education, financial education is huge. I have some of my female clients who do a wine, women, and knowledge evening, a wine, wealth, and wisdom. Sorry, one of them did wine, wealth, and wisdom and put together like an evening cocktail event, a little wine and cheese, and invited women who, their own clients, to come for this, but they also encouraged them to bring a friend that wasn't already a client, to introduce some new people. Women enjoy smaller, intimate sessions. The more you can do to help educate them, the more you can do to be considered a resource for them, the more that you can do to educate, equip them, share, tools like the type of tools I've got. There's a lot of great things out there. There's some, take a look around. There's some really great websites out there. A friend of mine has built purse strings, and it's geared to women to help them to, become better educated with this. So take a really good look around and see what you can find. So I'm also looking here. Okay, so again, somebody here is taking their certified divorce financial analyst designation. That's great. There's a question in here that's a little bit too long for me to answer, Monica, but I'd be more than happy to take this offline with you afterwards. So if you just want to drop me an email at info@theblaufusgroup.com, let's have a chat, because this is a little bit more, a more personal question. Okay, so Anthony, I have just started conducting financial education workshops. What do you think is the best time, lunchtime or evenings? Anthony, just about any time's good. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because if you're dealing with stay-at-home moms with kids, the morning, could be a good time. Lunch could be a good time. The other thing is that if you're dealing with professional women, believe it or not, folks, everybody takes time off during the day to go see their doctor, their dentist, their lawyer, their accountant. They usually don't work nights and weekends. So don't hesitate to ask somebody to come to something in the middle of the day. Some people are just looking for an excuse to leave work, or some people are just, they're business owners or whatever. The other thing to do, Anthony, is ask. Ask people, what would be a good, good time of the day for us to get together? Do a little bit of legwork yourself. If you've got clients out there, are you doing a check-in with them once a year to see what kind of service you're providing? And by the way, I hope you're providing customer delight and not just customer service, because the customer service today is table stakes. Customers want customer delight. So how are you going above and beyond? One of my coaching clients, we put together a survey for her to send out to her 450 clients. And one of the questions that was asked on the survey was, if you're happy with the service we're providing to this point, what is one thing we could do differently moving forward to make your working relationship with us even more enjoyable? You know, I liken it to, I was out to dinner on Sunday night and I got talking to the owner of the restaurant. And one of the things that we were talking about was customer service. And I talked to him about customer delight, because when I'm speaking, when I'm doing my Courageous Conversations presentation, I talk to advisors about, are you delivering customer delight? So I use this example. I'm sure everybody on here with me today has probably at some time or other gone to a restaurant for dinner. I hope so. I hope you get out of, you know, and it's not just all work. But think about it. Quite often, a manager will come over to the table and they'll say, good evening, you know, thank you for joining us. I hope everything was to your liking. I hope you've enjoyed your time with us. And we're, you know, we Canadians are rather polite. So we usually, you know, even if we haven't enjoyed the experience, we'll usually say, yeah, it was fine. So if we answer and say everything was great, but it wasn't, the manager goes away with a false set of feedback, going away thinking that they've hit the mark. But if the manager was to say to the client or to the guest, thank you, I'm glad you've enjoyed your experience with us. What is one thing we could do differently so that when you come back and join us the next time, it will be an even better experience? This restaurant owner looked at me and said, could you just stop for a minute? I got to get a piece of paper and write that one down. He says, my staff is about to be trained on that one word. So think about it yourselves as financial advisors. Are you asking that type of question to your clients? So Anthony, this is a roundabout way of saying, ask, talk to your different clients. Say, listen, this is what I'm thinking of putting together. What would be a good time? What might be of interest to you? If you get the feedback from the people that you want to be dealing with, you'll be amazed at what they'll tell you. You'll be absolutely amazed. So I hope that answered some of the questions. Unfortunately, we're getting to the top of the hour, so I won't be able to take any more. If you'd like to talk about, you know, if you've got a couple of other questions, as I said to Monica, you know, touch base offline with me. And I can't put the slide up to show you, but I'd be happy to have a complimentary 30-minute call with anybody who might be considering investing in coaching to take their practice to the next level. If you'd like to do that, please just reach out through info@theblaufusgroup.com. I'll send you a link to book a time, and we can talk about whether working together might be a good fit for you to help you to take your business and blow it through the roof. And I'm very happy to say some people took me up on it after the last call, and I've got some great new people that I'm starting to work with. So I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. So to wrap up today, I just want to touch on something. I mentioned to you that, okay, and Anthony came back and said, thanks, I'm putting out a short survey, 3 questions. Great. I love people who take an idea and run with it. I mentioned I'm a catalyst for courageous conversations. Each and every one of you as a financial advisor has to have on a daily basis courageous conversations with your clients. You are the ones, more so than lawyers, accountants, religious leaders, all of those people, you are the ones that people are going to look to. So think about this. You have courageous conversations every day because you have to start the dialogue with people in an effort to build a bridge of trust so that you can have a trustworthy relationship with these people and you can turn them into a client for life. The work that you do is so vitally, vitally important. And that's why I'm spending time with you today, because I am such a huge fan of each and every one of you and the work that this amazing industry does. Because when I had my moment where my world was turned upside down in 60 minutes, the life insurance that my husband had put in place became a safety net for me to gently fall into. And it held me until I was able to get back on my feet and I was able to build a new sense and a new life and a new sense of normal for my daughter and myself. So everything I do is to help you. At the beginning, you saw all of my social media. I love to stay connected with the people that join me and spend their time with me. I love to see how I can help. If you're interested, I put out a monthly marketing and sales tips once a month. You will not get inundated by me. I can't stand that. But it's geared to help you to work with your clients to become better business owners. Feel free to go on to my website. I have tons and tons of blogs there. You're more than welcome to repurpose them with your clients, to use them just as long as you attribute them to the source. That's the only thing I ask. But everything I do is to help you, because I totally believe that you make a difference in the lives of the people that you come into touch with day in and day out. And I see somebody said here, I'd love to know more about what you and your organization do. If you have time to talk about it, please just reach out, info@theblaufusgroup.com, and let's get that time set up to spend some time together. Thanks everybody for your time and attention today. I humbly apologize about the video and the fact that you couldn't see the slides, but this is going to be recorded, so we'll work behind the scenes with WebEx to make sure. And if for some reason you didn't get them, we'll figure out a way to get them to you, because then you can see what I was talking about, because you'll have the bullet points on the screens. So thanks an awful lot. And you know, somebody just put here, thanks Jane, I sure wish I had someone looking after me when I needed it. Well, I'm very thankful that I had who I had looking after me when I needed it. And actually, he's still looking after me today. And the big joke in our house is he's the second most important man in my life, with his wife's permission and my husband's permission. On that, have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. I greatly appreciate it. Take care.